The entire graph of the function f is shown in the figures below. Write the domain and range using interval notation. Okay, so domain and range, if you think of an XY table, domain and range, think about going to the doctor. In other words, domain is X, the range is Y. Now this is the x-axis here. The x-axis you read from left to right. So on the x-axis, you start with the beginning of the graph to the end of the graph. So for the domain, and it says, I believe it says interval notation. Yes. So what you do is you tell me where that graph starts and ends on the x-axis. So it's starting at -3, it's ending at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So from -3 to 5. Now the interval notation, for each one of those, you want to look and see if the dot is colored in or not. This one, the first one's colored in. If it's colored in, you use a bracket. The next one, not colored in. If it's not colored in, you use a parentheses. So even though it looks strange, that's the answer for the domain. Now the range is the y-axis. So on the range, I'm gonna, let me go ahead and get rid of this marking here so I can let's talk about the y-axis. So this graph on the y-axis falls here and ends there. So when you're reading the range, you go bottom up. So the lowest number is -5. The highest number is 2. So that graph falls between -5 and 2 on the y-axis. At -5, that dot's colored in, so you use a bracket. At 2, that dot is not colored in, so you use parentheses. So that's the entire answer to this problem in interval notation. So the domain is the x-axis. X-axis from left to right. So from here to here. So that's -3 to 1 to +3. -3 to +3 on the x-axis. The -3, that's solid dot, so you use bracket. The +3 is an open circle, so use parentheses. The range is the y-axis. I'm sorry, I don't know why I did that. Here's what I wanted to do. So the y-axis goes up and down, and you're looking for the lowest and the highest part of the graph. So that graph falls between -1, 2, 3, -4 and +1, 2, 3. -4 and +4. At the -4, it's an open circle, so parentheses. At the +4, it's a closed circle, so brackets. And then you have something that looks like this. It's the same concept. For the domain, it's left to right, so the graph starts here and ends here on the x-axis. So that's -3 to +2. And the -3 is an open circle, so use parentheses. The +2 is an open circle, so use parentheses. Now we do the y-axis. Now you've got to be careful with this one, because you're not looking at the points necessarily. You're looking at the highest and lowest points of the graph. So the lowest point is right here on that graph, and the highest point is right here. So the graph itself on the y-axis falls between 1, 2, 3, 4, -4 and +1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now at -4, there's no circle there. There's no hole in the graph. If there's no hole in the graph, you use brackets. At +5, there is a hole. It's an open circle, so use parentheses. So just be careful with that, because for the range, we didn't look at this little dot over this circle over here. It didn't matter.